Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we're tackling a massive paradox in the modern world of body optimization. On one side, we have rigorously tested multi-billion-dollar metabolic megadrugs completely changing the landscape of obesity. On the other side, we have highly hyped, experimentally used underground peptides dominating internet forums. It's a tale of two entirely different frontiers in medicine, and the contrast between how we approach them is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with the weight loss heavyweights, explore retatrutide's triumph, and unpack the dysesthesia safety signal. Then we'll shift gears into the wild west of peptides, analyze the clinical evidence gap, and finally discuss the FDA regulatory crackdown. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The weight loss heavyweights. Tirzepatide versus semaglutide. So, our first frontier is strictly the science. We're talking massive, meticulously tracked clinical trials for GLP-1 weight loss medications that are fundamentally reshaping global healthcare. To really grasp the scale of what's happening right now, we have to look at the SURMOUNT-5 trial. This was just published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it's a huge deal. It was a phase 3B, open-label trial running for 72 weeks. Basically, this was a head-to-head heavyweight bout between the current market leaders. It tested the maximum tolerated doses of tirzepatide against semaglutide in adults with obesity, but without type 2 diabetes. And wow, the outcome of that bout was definitive. When we look at the hard numbers at the 72-week mark, tirzepatide demonstrated clear, absolute statistical superiority. People taking tirzepatide saw an incredible 20.2% average body weight loss, compared to 13.7% for those on semaglutide. That is a massive gap. Tirzepatide also led to significantly greater waist circumference reduction and a much higher likelihood of hitting major weight loss milestones. So the bar, it's officially been raised. Which brings us to part 2. Retatrutide's triple agonist triumph, the next generation. Now, just as tirzepatide establishes total dominance, Eli Lilly is already out here trying to beat its own records with a wildly powerful new pipeline compound, retatrutide. To understand the hype here, you gotta know how it works. Retatrutide is a triple hormone receptor agonist. That means it's a single molecule engineered to activate 3 completely distinct metabolic receptors simultaneously: GIP, GLP-1, and glucagon. This is a huge evolutionary step in metabolic therapy. By pulling all 3 of these specific biological levers at once, it supercharges the body's metabolic engine way past what our current single or dual action drugs can achieve. And the results, honestly, they're staggering. In the TRIUMPH-4 trial, we saw 28.7% body weight lost at 68 weeks. But let's actually look at the brand new TRIUMPH-1 top-line data that Lilly just dropped on May 21st, 2026. In a massive placebo-controlled trial of over 2,300 adults, the 12-milligram dose led to an average weight loss of 70.3 pounds. That's 28.3% of their body weight over 80 weeks. And get this, 45.3% of users lost 30% or more of their body weight. If you stayed in the study extension out to 104 weeks and had a starting BMI of 35 or higher, average weight loss hit 85 pounds. We're talking about 30.3% weight loss. Historically, you only ever saw those numbers with invasive bariatric surgery, and now it's in a weekly injection. It completely blows past Lilly's own Zepbound and Novo's Wegovy. But the crazy part is, retatrutide isn't just dropping pounds. In that TRIUMPH-4 trial we mentioned, which focused on folks with obesity and knee osteoarthritis, the secondary endpoints were phenomenal. We saw a nearly 76% reduction in knee osteoarthritis pain scores. Actually, over 14% of patients on the 9-milligram dose were completely free of knee pain by week 68. Zero pain. It also dropped systolic blood pressure by 14 points and slashed cardiovascular risk markers, so it's essentially acting like a whole-body multi-tool for drastically improving physical function and metabolic health. But wait, part 3. The dysesthesia safety signal, the catch. Okay, so it sounds like a pure miracle, right? Well, to maintain a fiercely objective look at this data, we have to talk about the catch. There was a totally unexpected safety signal that popped up, a condition called dysesthesia. Basically, it's an abnormal sense of touch that causes totally normal sensations to feel unusual, uncomfortable, or literally painful. Usually, you only see this in major nervous system diseases like MS or severe diabetes. So the crucial point here is that analysts did not see this bizarre side effect coming based on Lilly's earlier phase 2 trials. When you actually look at the safety data from TRIUMPH-4, there is a clear dose-dependent spike in this painful skin sensation.
In the placebo group, it was basically nothing. Just 0.7% of patients reported it. But check out the retatrutide groups. Almost 9% of patients on the 9 milligram dose reported it, and a whopping 20.9% on the 12 milligram dose experienced it. That is a massive jump from placebo, and you better believe researchers are going to be tracking this hyper closely in future readouts. Which naturally leads us to trial dropouts. About 12% of the 9 milligram group and 18% of the 12 milligram group bailed due to adverse events. You had your classic GI issues for sure. Nausea hit up to 43%. But here's where it gets wild. Lilly reported that some people actually dropped out because of perceived excessive weight loss. The drug was simply too effective. For some participants, particularly those with a lower starting BMI, the fat melted off so fast that they got spooked and actually chose to quit the trial. Talk about a double-edged sword.
All right, shifting gears entirely. Part 4, the Wild West of peptides, the hype. Let's step completely out of the heavily regulated big pharma world and walk right into the underground, anecdote-driven use of experimental peptides. The internet is absolutely buzzing with hype around healing compounds like BPC-157 and TB-500. Bodybuilders and wellness enthusiasts swear by them for rapid injury repair. But I love this quote from a medical commentary. It hits the nail on the head. Anyone using BPC-157 today is, whether they like it or not, a volunteer in a global, uncontrolled experiment. We absolutely have to view this off-label biohacking with a fiercely critical eye.
Because here's the massive roadblock, the anecdotal evidence problem. You can hop online right now and read thousands of glowing, life-changing reviews for these peptides. But guys, anecdotes cannot substitute for actual clinical science. Why? Well, the placebo effect is incredibly powerful. Just expecting to heal can create real perceived improvement. Then there's massive selection bias. People only post when it works. Plus, injuries often just naturally regress and heal over time anyway, regardless of the injection. The reality is none of these wild internet claims can actually be independently verified.
This brings us to part 5, the clinical evidence gap, the void. Think back a minute to the thousands of patients carefully monitored in the retatrutide trials we just talked about. Now contrast that with the absolute void of human clinical trials for BPC-177. Look at this timeline. In 2015, a phase 1 safety study with just 42 healthy volunteers was abruptly canceled, and zero data was ever published. No explanation, nothing. That set research back nearly a decade. Since then, we've only seen a tiny 2021 retrospective review on knee injections, a 2024 pilot study for bladder issues, and a 2025 IV safety study conducted on, wait for it, exactly 2 adults. Which gives us this staggering number, 30. As of March 2026, fewer than 30 human subjects total have been studied across every published BPC-157 trial combined. And the real kicker, not a single one of those was a randomized placebo-controlled trial. We are literally missing the absolute foundational pharmacokinetic data. We have no idea how human metabolism actually processes, distributes, or clears these compounds. The doses people are injecting at home are literally just blind guesses extrapolated from animal lab studies.
Part 6, the FDA regulatory crackdown, Category 2.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how regulatory bodies are reacting. Because of this massive data void, the FDA has stepped in to draw a hard line to protect public health. They are classifying these compounds based purely on that lack of clinical safety data. BPC-157 is now sitting in Category 2, meaning it cannot legally be made by compounding pharmacies, and WADA has completely banned it. TB-500 is also Category 2 and goes up for a formal review in July 2026. Now, some growth hormone secretagogues like CJC-1295 are currently Category 1, which allows some compounding access while they're evaluated, but the FDA is blunt. No compounded bulk peptide has full FDA drug approval right now. They are aggressively restricting access until the science actually catches up to the hype.
So what does this all mean for us? It leaves us with a fascinating question to ponder. Are we witnessing a revolutionary leap forward in medicine, or just a dangerous game of bioroulette? On one hand, you have meticulously engineered drugs like retatrutide pushing a historic 30% weight loss, but uncovering bizarre new side effects along the way. On the other hand, you have underground peptides promising miracle healing with virtually zero human clinical safety data to back it up. The line between a life-changing innovation and an unknown medical risk is razor thin right now. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those hard questions, and I'll catch you next time.